In 1981, there was a murder so shocking that it changed the entertainment world forever, yet the killer was never brought to justice. Now, almost 40 years later, we're reopening the case, reviewing old leads as well as new evidence, to try and make sense of a killing which gave rise to a massacre. The who, what, why, and how of when video killed the radio star. Welcome to the Radio Star Murders.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Radio Star Murders. We are breaking down music videos and trying to figure out if video killed the radio star. My name is Wes Teasdale. I'm joined by Clay McCormick. Clay, tell us what we're going to be doing this week, where we are on our second video from 1999. That's the theme we're talking about. All these, probably the 4 or so videos we're going to be talking about in this little cluster are from 1999, otherwise known as the year that music was born and then died. And so, Clay, tell us what song you've chosen for this week.
Well, it's a slight cheat, but I think it still counts. It's Baby One More Time by Britney Spears, which officially the song was released in 1998, but it was at the top of the list.
End of 98, yeah. It's the end of 1998.
Yeah, it was at the top of the list of the 1999 videos, so it counts as far as I'm concerned.
I think the album came out in 1999. The single came out in 98. Is the difference
sure.
there?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
So we'll go with the album as the rule of thumb.
Yeah, and it's I would say it was the spark that set off the powder keg of the second wave of 90s boy band type music. Because when I was looking for stuff for this, I actually was looking at the Spice Girls, because I assumed the Spice Girls was the same era as this, but the Spice Girls were basically done by like 1997, which I found shocking, because I assumed all this stuff happened at the same time.
Yes, and it felt like they never left, really, honestly.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, this is the song that birthed Christina Aguilera and NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and all this kind of stuff. I think anyway.
I see this song as the herald of that new era. Even stuff that is not related, like Eminem. I remember them distinctly coming out at the same time. These they did come out at the same time, but they are. This is the video that I remember seeing and thinking about, and now when I think back on it, I remember thinking that I wasn't aware that something different was happening, but I remember this song being the start of a big chain of change in the music industry.
Yeah, it's like it basically signaled the height of MTV's power, because this was the era where I was actually talking with our friend Meredith yesterday, who was I mentioned in the last episode is very well versed in the music of 1999.
Yes, an archaeologist of 1999 music.
Yeah. She and Laura are thinking about starting a podcast that's entirely about the album Pure Moods, which I think would be a great idea.
What is Pure Moods?
You don't remember you got to remember Pure Moods. It featured all the Enigma songs and Return to Innocence, and it was this album that came out in the 90s that they advertised on TV all the time. And it was just
so it's not a band. It's just like a compilation.
No, it's just a compilation that featured like the weirdest mishmash of songs. It had the, that song is like, hey, yeah, you don't know that one? It was like new age music that had some lyrics to it, but it also had the theme from the X-Files and Tubular Bells from The Exorcist and Crockett's theme from Miami Vice. It was a really weird mishmash.
Is this just like a Wham or Wow best of the 90s type thing?
Yeah, but it's like, that's what I call music that sounds like a scented candle, basically. Okay,
gotcha. Yeah.
Anyway, so look, keep your ears open for the Pure Moods podcast. But Meredith and I were both saying how this was the era where, as far as we went at the age that we were at, we really cared about what was on MTV. Like, I remember being way too overly invested in what the top song on TRL was, which I don't know why that was, but But yeah, this is sort of the kickoff for that whole era of basically the supernova of music video before it's turned into a black hole, essentially.
Yeah. Before TRL just started not playing the entire song and would just sort of do the list in 15 minutes. Yeah.
But yes, if you want to know what happens in this video, if you're listening to this on the podcast, we have Britney Spears sits in school, longing for the final bell of the day at what I can only assume is a grossly underfunded school, because once that bell rings, any control the teachers have over the students goes right out the window. The students run amok, practicing dance moves in the hallway, changing clothes in full view of everyone, and showing a general disdain for the teachers that work so hard to prepare them for the world for so little in return. Mm-hmm. The chaos continues outside, where the kids mill around in more athletically appropriate attire, waiting for a bus to their basketball game, which will never come thanks to the budget cuts by the state that have made bus travel an expendable luxury. Making it to the basketball game, we see the results of an underfunded athletics program as they try to compete in the game with dance moves, since the basketball coach, I assume, had to quit in order to take a second job because it's too expensive to live where they do on just a teacher's salary. Despite being objectively terrible at, or at the very least, uneducated at the basic rules of basketball and how the game is played, the one teacher who does stick around, despite being grossly underpaid, celebrates. She's there for the kids and is happy to see them trying, even if they fail, because she cares. And also because she's about 3 cans of wine deep at this point. Pay teachers more.
It's all you can ask for out of a video and a song, is some uncaring or caring teachers with uncaring kids wearing bare midriffs, I think, is pretty much what this is. Song is fine, I think. I was looking at the list. This made a bunch of lists as like one of the top pop singles from like 1960 onward or something. It was like number 25 on that list. Mm-hmm. I don't think I disagree. I don't think this is a bad song or anything. I think it's pretty much it's very much of the era, I guess. Like it's sort of an unsubtle pop song, I guess, which is, and this will go into my big point about this. Like, I think that the video here is really fascinating. And watching this, I haven't seen this video in forever. Mm-hmm. Watching this now, as opposed to whenever I was 16 or something when this came out and watched it, I have a totally different opinion about the uproar about the content of this song and video than I did when I was watching it. It's really strange. Britney Spears. Do you remember this when this song came out? They were trying to say that this song was not about sex.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Well, I do know that when it first came out, they actually shortened the title because they thought that it implied domestic violence. I'm 100% serious. The album, it's ... baby one more time. They made them take Hit Me off because they thought it implied domestic violence.
I remember them talking about how this, like, the Spears camp was trying to say that this song was not about sex for some reason, and I think that ran rampant among these songs. Like I was really on the fence between this one and Genie in a Bottle. Yeah, and whereas this one, I feel like there's enough gray area where you could reasonably make the argument that it's not about sex. Genie in the Bottle is like, come on, like they kind of trade off lyric versus visual. Yeah. Because this one, the lyric isn't as sexual, but the visual is I feel like an old man saying it's risque, but I mean you're invoking a fairly specific image when you've got bunch of 16-year-old girls in short Catholic girl uniforms with their shirts tied up. You know? Yeah. Like I just didn't think that when this came out, I thought that the claims of sexualization or hypersexualization were overblown, and I'm not saying that it's inappropriate to do, but it's because Spears' career was so cultivated, like her whole creation is sort of like this artificial record label thing. The song is written by that Max Martin guy,
yes,
who wrote pretty much everything.
We might even want to do this. A series of this show, which is just Max Martin songs, because just to go down a quick list of his Billboard Hot #1 singles, this is just number ones. He's got Baby One More Time, It's Gonna Be Me, I Kissed a Girl, California Girls by Katy Perry, Teenage Dream. He did a lot of Katy Perry stuff. E.T., Last Friday Night. And that's just Shake It Off. Yeah.
He's got a lot.
He's got tons and tons of stuff. Like, he wrote basically every song that was popular between 1999 and like 2005.
Yeah. It's really strange. I think that the takeaway for me was that Spears is interesting because Spears is such a strange, like, this sounds harsh, but a strange looking performer. Like, she's not what I would say is like a traditionally sexy performer. Like I think Christina Aguilera would be described, or Madonna or something.
Sure.
She looks young. She looked like her face and her whole thing is definitely the youngest looking out of a lot of these singers that you see like this. And that's what makes it so strange to me, is that her youthful appearance coupled with the sexuality of the song and then the lyrics, which I would disagree with you. Like, I think this there's like no way to describe what this song is talking about, which is basically her boyfriend left her and she's offering up some, sex to get him back with her. And it's just such a, like, not to be the old prude, but I can see why this was sort of a strange combination at the time, why they were saying that, like, maybe it's not appropriate for 16-year-old girls to be seeing this at this point. It was a strange change in my opinion, I guess.
Yeah. I think also she was so immediately claimed by everyone once this came out that I think that really added to the uproar about everything. Like, as soon as this hit, you had people claiming she was too sexualized, but then you're having other people saying she wasn't sexual enough. Like, she was immediately being pulled in like 14 different directions in a way that I don't remember the Spice Girls doing, because I feel like they were a little bit older, so they had a little bit more agency over what was happening.
Yeah. Wasn't like Ginger Spice like 45 years old when the Spice Girls came out? Like, it was they just looked older, if that wasn't the case. Like, they looked appropriately aged to be singing songs about that stuff. You could almost argue that the You Gotta Be With My Friends is more of like a Britney Spears 16-year-old angle.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Like, they could flip-flop songs that would make more sense.
Yeah. And also because she was a solo artist and she wasn't part of a group, I think there was that much more heightened focus on her and what she was doing. And, Meredith and I were talking yesterday about the Rolling Stone cover that she did, where because of like the angle, everyone thought that she got breast implants. And so then that became a thing that people were pissed off about and had no idea about the truth. It was she became the focal point for all of this stuff. To the point where, like, you had your Christina Aguileras and your Jessica Simpsons, and they really had to I feel like remembering they really had to, I should say, I remember feeling like they really had to push the boundaries in order to try and get some of that spotlight, Like, it's really strange too, because I wouldn't say by far she's the most talented. I mean, she might be the best dancer, but she doesn't have the best voice. No. Christina had the best voice. Jessica Simpson, I guess, was just attractive. I don't really know why people liked her. And
she was the most classically attractive out of all of them. Yeah.
She definitely could not dance. I can tell you that much. And I think Britney, like, has a serviceable voice, I guess, and is a decent dancer, and is just cute enough that, like, the Venn diagram just exploded, basically.
Yeah. She came about at such a strange time. Like, I think she's definitely marketed towards tween girls, or like young girls as the focal point of the audience. I don't remember what adults or older people thought of this song at the time. Mm-hmm. You probably would think it was fine if you didn't see the video, or like if you heard this on the radio, I think everyone would kind of get behind it, or understand like that it's a fairly decent song. But she was really the focal point of like a lot of what seems like startlingly late social conservatism in response to this stuff. Like, this was 1999, and it's still the response to her coming out feels so dated. Like, I don't think there's any of the female singers that come out now that face this kind of scrutiny about her, like sexuality and stuff like that.
It's
but
almost like...
Go ahead.
Well, it's what's interesting is what happened to her organically as far as how people reacted to her and her sexuality and all that kind of stuff is now something that is just part of it's like part of the outline, you know, even if people don't give a shit. Like, I feel like the other end of the spectrum as far as this sort of pop star goes is Miley Cyrus, where it's like she basically had the same kind of thing where she started on the Disney Channel or whatever, and she had this, you know, sort of young crowd, and then she got older, and then at a certain point it was like, okay, now we have to turn you into make you sexy. And instead of just doing it organically, she just did like everything at the same time and turned into whatever happened to her in the middle part of her career that people thought was weird.
Yeah.
But it felt with her, it felt very, very produced. Like it felt like it was a design decision versus, I mean, maybe they were just more subtle with it with Britney Spears, but it always seemed like that sort of change with her or evolution was a little bit more organic.
Yeah. I don't know what to think about it. Like, I don't think about Britney Spears anymore. It seems very flash on the pan, even though she was like a tremendously big star for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I think the song is fine. Like, I wouldn't turn the song off if it came on some radio that I was listening to, but I wouldn't necessarily say seek it out. It's fairly simplistic. It's a very 90s pop sort of like boombastic type thing. The lyrics are kind of funny, or more, the lyrics are intriguing, if not actually outright good. And
so let me put it into perspective.
Yeah.
This came out in 99. Britney Spears' song Toxic, which unless I'm forgetting one, feels like it was probably the last big hit that she had.
Yep, I'd agree with that.
Was 2003.
Okay.
So she was basically done in 5 years.
Yeah. Surprising, right? Well,
yeah.
That's actually, we'll get to this, I think, potentially at some point, but like it's surprising that you think that you get to Eminem has been around for 20 years, which seems actually more crazy to me than Britney Spears, who was only around for 5 years.
Yeah. Well, he did have a big, like, 15-year gap where he didn't really do anything.
I suppose, like, he's certainly not the heights that he was, but you still...
Yeah.
You still get... He still does stuff at this point, and it's shocking that much time has gone by, where the Britney Spears thing feels appropriate at that point. Like, it feels like we only got 5 years of Britney Spears, but it felt like it was very important.
And I mean, she's basically in her, like... she's in her, like, latter years Elvis phase right now. And I don't mean that in a destructive manner, but I don't know what's going on with her. Maybe it is. I don't know. Where she's doing like a residency in Las Vegas and shit like that. She's 37. It's not like she's, you know, put out to pasture or anything, you know?
Is she only 37? Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. It's strange. I think that my general takeaway from that song is really just that it was like the cultural like zeitgeist surrounding this song was the only thing that I remember more than the song or the video or anything. I think the video is fine, but what the video unintentionally does is kind of like highlights how strange of an era. Like, do we have young pop stars like this anymore? Like, are the young female pop stars that pop up this nowadays just, am I not appreciating how young they are when they appear?
I don't know. I am too out of touch to tell you any of the ones who would count.
Let's see, how old's Ariana Grande? She is... Where is this? She was born in 1993. So that's 10... She's older.
But she also came up through the Disney system. She was on some Disney show, I think, for a while before she became a pop star.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I'm a little bit off. Yeah, I guess it's just it's interesting to me, like the cultural difference between when Britney Spears came out and now you've got like Nicki Minaj songs where she's just like talking about dick basically for 3 minutes and like no one really cares and no one bats an eye. But here, go ahead.
Do you remember there was a song that came out, an Enrique Iglesias song that came out a few years ago that on the radio was known as "Tonight I'm Loving You"? but the actual lyrics of the song are "Tonight I'm fucking you," and it's just like any pretense of metaphor and illusion gone. It's just it's the 21st century. We're being very frank with each other.
One of my favorite tweets was it was in quotations, "I'm gonna keep on fucking you," and it's written by a rated REO Speedwagon. Which I think is a good
yeah,
tweet.
I mean, it is interesting when you have songs like this where there is definitely a subtext to it that you kind of have to. It's kind of the it ends up being the attractive thing about pop music and rock music is when you've got this thing where it's like it's very much a winky sort of reference that makes it feel a little bit forbidden, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, Genie in a Bottle. The video of Genie in a Bottle is fairly innocuous, but if you're actually listening to those lyrics, they try and like hedge their bets a little bit and make it be like, oh no, we're not talking about, sex or anything or orgasms.
Yeah.
But they are, I would say, and I was just looking at the lyrics to this. I actually think to Baby One More Time, I actually think there's a better case to be made about it sounding like it's a song about domestic abuse than it does about sex. Because it sounds, the lyrics are basically her talking about being willing to do anything to keep her boyfriend from leaving, and then imploring him to hit her one more time. It's like, oh, so are they in an abusive relationship? And he's smacking her around, and then he's,
right.
She's so I can see that. I feel like you could probably go either way with it. I would say, let's put it this way. I think another artist doing this song in a different style might have it play more darkly, but I think to kind of lead into the final comment on it, I think it's the video that does the most positioning of it.
Yes.
I would say that to get into our final comment, I would say this is one where the video is 100% crucial to the song.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think that I think it does it in a way that, like, I would agree that it's crucial, but it actually kind of makes me uncomfortable in a certain way. Like, I can't imagine being someone like Max Martin, and they're like, here's your, like, 16-year-old Disney princess.
Yeah.
Like, write a sexual song for her, and she's going to dance around.
But
and
not
you're like,
too sexual.
What's that?
But not too sexual.
Not too sexual. Don't say any dirty words. Just imply that she'll she'll give up anything just to have this guy stick around. I think it's just the boy band thing is different about this because there was that guy who made all the boy bands, but he's basically a pedophile. Like, he was just some guy who was like really into hanging out with young boys and like would have them stay at his house and everything like that. And this kind of feels like it doesn't get the same level of like kind of creepiness about it. And I don't know if that's just like a gender prejudice where we weren't willing to look at things the same way, but what an exploitative time for the music industry and what they were doing. And I think I never really appreciated that until watching this song as an older adult.
I also think too, I think she just looks older. She doesn't, and I think that is unfortunately something that they use to their advantage. Is she doesn't really look like a 16-year-old. She looks like she could be in her 20s.
Oh, see, I disagree. I think she looks young.
Really?
I think Jessica Simpson looks old. Like, Jessica Simpson looks like she's a mid-20s person, but she's younger than that. And I think Britney Spears with this sort of like, she's not the svelte model that Jessica Simpson is. Like, she looks like a kid's. She has like a kid's body to her. And
I guess it feels like, to me, it feels like Hollywood high school. To me, she feels like she could be a little bit older, but she's playing younger. Whereas Jessica Simpson, it's like, all right, yeah, she's not 16.
Right. Okay.
Even if she was, maybe she was, I don't remember. And I think they use that to their advantage, weirdly, to exploit that element of it. Like, Meredith was telling me she remembered being in school at this time, so it would be like 9th grade, so like 15 or 16-year-old kids or whatever, were there was a boy in her class who was like always going on about the countdown clock to when Britney turned 18, and she was like, why do you care? You're 16. Why are you acting like a weird, creepy 30-year-old man?
I assume that meant that the media thought that she was going to pose topless or something at that point.
I don't
It
know,
was
but
gonna be
I
okay.
remember that being a thing too. Like, do you remember when like the creepy thing that people would talk about was when the Olsen twins were going to turn 18?
Yep.
That really creeped me out.
Yeah, that's
And it's just like it's this weird fetishization of young but not too young, you know? It's like, okay, now it's okay for me to be creepy over her. It's really weird.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. And so, yeah, to wrap up, I would agree with you. The video is pretty important to this song. I think it sort of brings everything into focus for me about what I think about it. So it's kind of interesting there. I don't even think it's a great technical production or anything. I don't think it's a very interesting video to watch, but I think just seeing her and seeing everything that was of the era and like seeing how she looked and how old she was and everything really sort of clarifies everything for me.
Yeah, it's got some of that high contrast shit that all the videos were doing at the time. It's not as garish to look at as the All-Star video, but it's got that those weird
Shininess to
late
it.
90s
Everything's
clothing
shiny.
choices where it's like, I'm going to wear track pants and a crop top and it's going to be like the cool thing to do. And my hair is going to look like a teenage girl version of the guy from Prodigy.
Yeah.
It was an odd time. It was a very odd time.
Yeah. No, we'll continue that. So our next one is going to be 1999's Smooth, which is Carlos Santana featuring Rob
If
Thomas.
it was up to me, this series would have been us covering Smooth 4 times.
I have a good oral history that I'll link to from Rolling Stone about it, or you guys can look it up ahead of time.
Because 1999 was the year that everybody remembered that Latin music existed.
Yep.
We could have done 1999. We could have done 4 videos just of big songs that had a Latin influence. I'll tell you, I'm not going to do either of these for my last one, but I was really, really close to doing A, Live in La Vida Loca, which I think would have been a good one, but B, also Mambo Number 5.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. I forgot about I remember Ricky Martin, obviously, but I forgot about Mambo Number 5. That makes sense. Well, we'll talk about Smooth next time anyway. So, guys, thank you very much for listening. Thank you for supporting the show. You can check out the video. As always, YouTube, this version on YouTube shows the video. The MP3 version plays the song in the background, so you can see which one you prefer. Check them out on the MP3s by subscribing as a podcast on all your podcatchers, or subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to see the video instead. And we'll be back next week with Smooth, which is Carlos Santana featuring Rob Thomas. Until then, see ya.